Hello, everybody. My name is Cheeseball. I haven't been on YouTube for a while. Again, I've taken a lot of hiatuses. Um, you may be wondering why my background is Ruby Volume 7. Well, the poster art. Correct me if I'm wrong, of course. Um, I decided to discuss what I think about the series and certain topics about the series before the next episode releases. Because there are certain topics that I want to discuss before the last episode, I think it is. Yeah, last episode. Um, so let's get started. What I think about Rwby as a whole is every volume has had something that I either didn't like or I found something interesting about. Now, the volume that got me interested in the whole series was Rwby Volume 3, because I didn't know about it until Volume 3 had happened when I was on a Crunchyroll. I think it was Crunchyroll exclusive. It wasn't exclusive to Crunchyroll, but basically this, what is it called? It was a preview of a battle from Volume 3. By the way, I don't think I have to say spoilers in this because, well, I'm just going to say spoilers right now. Regardless, I don't know how many people wouldn't have seen all this already by now. Basically, this isn't going to be about what's happened already. I'm just going to put spoilers in the description below anyways, just to protect people, because I will be talking about stuff up until the very last episode of the volume. But this is the introduction to my discussion series on the universe of Rwby. Now, the concept of each volume interests, well, the idea of each volume either interests me or turns me away. The first one is obviously the introduction, which, yeah, it got me interested. Well, after I saw the preview of Volume 3, I was like, okay, that's an interesting thing. I want to learn more. Only to find out that that's Volume 3. So, sorry, nasal stuff. So basically, Volume 1 introduced me, or got me more interested once I saw that preview. I was like, alright, let's watch Volume 1. Watched it. I liked it because it was a great introduction, I feel. It showed all the characters. It had great humor. And then it had a conflict of interest a few times throughout the intro. Then Volume 2 introduced more conflict of interest, more characters, and basically more conflicts for us to deal with. But there was also some comedic relief in there too, just like Volume 1. Now, Volume 3, I've talked to a few people who would agree with me on this, that's where it started to get really dramatic and interesting. Because they brought a character death into it. Actually, multiple, but the one that really struck, well, two that really struck people was the death of Penny, she's not really an android, she's a robot, I would think. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but you get the point. So basically, there was her, and then there was Pyrrha at the end. But that volume really made us go, wow. And we got a glimpse of who the main antagonist is. We don't know a whole lot about her at that point, but we did, but we did see a glimpse of her. And we found out that there were consequences of death in the Rwby universe at that point. Now, and if anyone disagrees with me, you can put in the comment what you disagreed with, but this is based on fact and opinions. Mostly fact. So they caused this whole scenario to happen over the course of a volume. Yang getting shutting everyone out because of her getting blamed for something she didn't do because of a semblance of illusion being used on her by Emerald to make it look like Mercury was about to attack her. And then was she put on house arrest? It's been a while since I've watched that, but I don't know if she just locked herself in the room or was on house arrest. Although she was very depressed, which I could understand, getting blamed for something you didn't do or believed you didn't do because, visual complications, of course. But, yeah, there was a lot of conflict in Volume 3, and I feel like more volumes need to have some kind of conflict and resolution, like a major conflict, like a full-out war happened in a kingdom against the Grimm and the White Fang, which I find very interesting that they went that way. Blake gets shanked in the stomach, runs away. Rwby and Yang are taken home. Ruby's on bed rest. Yang loses her arm. Weiss has to go back with Dad, and we all know how she feels about her dad, right? You'll see later why she feels that way. So basically, and then Rwby goes on an adventure by herself. So basically, the whole team separates after Volume 3. And they don't come back together until the end of Volume 5 is when they all come back together. Now let's move on to 4. 4, we moved in together. Or wait, who moved in together? Excuse me. No, Rwby moved in with what was it? Team Juniper, what was left of it after Pyrrha had been pronounced dead. Which I don't know. Her parents were probably proud of her for standing her ground and fighting for what she believed in, but they were probably disappointed that she died, Well, of course they were disappointed. What I mean is they were upset that she died. So, basically, we'll just call them Team Junior at this point. So Rwby, Jean, Ren, and Nora go out at the end of Volume 3, actually. You can see them walk out together to go to, what was it? Mistral. Yeah. So basically, Volume 4 is their whole, adventure out there. So, they spend their whole volume venturing out there. And, sorry, I'm a little fuzzy still on the volumes. I'm trying to remember if... Dang it. I can't remember. But anyways. So... What was it? I know at the end of Volume 5, that's when they fight the White Fang and everything, and the Faunus come to help. But a lot of people have a conflict of, well, not interest, but they have an issue with how Volume 5 ended and how it flowed all together. Because the last 2 episodes could have been one whole, finale for that volume, but they decided not to do that. And I remember how Volume 4 ended. It ended with them arriving in Mistral, Team Junior, I believe. Yeah. And then Volume 5 was basically Team Junior's in Mistral for about a volume, I think. Yeah. I'm pretty sure on that one. And the addition of Oscar. Oh, wait. Why did I refer to them to Team Junior? Sorry. It's another... The reason why I said Team Junior earlier is because I'm thinking of when they added... yeah, it's Ranger when Rwby joined them in Volume 4. And then it was Junior when Oscar joined their team. Well, I would like to say he joined them. And again, I'm going to say there are spoilers once I get to Volume 7, of course. So, like I said, if I did get any facts wrong, correct me in the comments below. I just corrected myself on one, but Team Ranger is what they called it with Rwby a part of that team. And then it's not until the end of Volume 5 that Team Rwby joins back together. Either that or it wasn't until the very beginning of Volume 6. But anyway, so they fight Adam. He runs away in Volume 5. Volume 4 ends. And then Volume 5 is where everyone spends time trying to get to Mistral, which is the kingdom in conflict of interest at that point. And, let me think here. As the kingdom in conflict of interest, they fight their way to, well, let me see here. Well, protecting it and protecting the relic, which they ended up succeeding. But like I said, I've talked to a few people who have mixed feelings about Volume 5. I believe a friend of mine said that Volume 4 was better than Volume 5. I can say for a fact that that's what they said. But Volume 5 is where it really started to... Because after Volume 5, it seemed like there were no consequences in the Rwby universe for a lot of things. Like, there were no consequences, there was no... I don't mean to sound cynical, but it wasn't as dramatic as Volume 3 was. And 4, there was some consequences. Nobody died. Wait, did anyone die? No one died, but there were some conflicts of interest, and yeah. But yeah, Volume 5 basically, that's where people started to have problems with, I'm just summarizing this to a basic point because I'm just trying to introduce or do an introduction to this and explain how I feel or what I think, or based on facts, opinions, blah, 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 all that stuff. So, we get to Volume 6. Now, this is when they're on their way to Atlas. So, after the fall of Vale, there's always been a volume where they spend time trying to get to the next kingdom. Volume 4 was Rwby and the rest of Team Juniper, or we'll just call them Ranger, trying to get to, well, Mistral. And then Volume 5 was the rest of Team Rwby trying to get there. Because their team had fallen apart after that volume. After Volume 3. So, we come to Volume 6. Where they're getting on the train. They have the relic because there's no Spring Maiden to protect it, so they want to take it to Atlas to lock it away there. unfortunately, what was it? After Volume 5, yes, okay. Volume 5 was when Atlas was found to be under lock and key because they wanted to do, what was it called, embargo? I think that's what it's called. But basically they locked the borders down, excuse me. And because of that, right before they locked it down, Weiss was able to escape. Well, we all know how that ended if you saw the what happened after she tried to escape. But so everyone's back together again. Everything's hunky-dory now, but they got to figure out how to get into Atlas now because they're on their way to Argus, which I'll explain what that is in a minute. But they get attacked by Grimm on the way, blah, blah, blah. So let's talk about what Argus is. Argus, let me see, what was it? It's a mixture of Mistral and Atlas efforts to build a major city outside of any of the 4 major kingdoms, because most of the settlements were either settlements, villages, but they never really got into a small town or city because one Grimm attack or attack by the group of bandits that's run by Rwby, or not Ruby's, Yang's mom. I forgot to mention that yeah. But basically, confronted. Sorry, I'm looking through some notes. Anyway, so that's basically what. So after looking at my notes again, I would like to point out that, yes, unfortunately, I'm not going to go too much into detail about the bandits, but yes, Yang's mom abandoned her, and her father abandoned Tai Yang and Yang to basically go help her old family. So the question is, did she leave? So which family? So what's the question about each family? Like, I went back to my family. To which one? The one you abandoned or the one you left behind? Which is a sick burn on, well, Raven, of course. But I can understand her point of view when it comes to her ideology. I just don't like how she preys on the weak. But I'll go into that in another discussion. Hold on. So, when we come to the point in which they're under the first major conflict of, well, how do I put this? Grimm attack on the train on their way to Argus. So, in order to protect the passengers, I forgot to mention, Jean's aura is his semblance, basically. He can increase somebody else's semblance through his aura. Correct me if I said that wrong, but you probably get what I mean. He can take his aura and amplify somebody else's aura or ability. Well, their aura and ability, well, they're not the same thing, but you know. They both work together, basically. No, they do work together. Because your aura is what helps you, manifest. Because characters whose aura has gone down to almost 0, they're too weak to be able to use their ability. Not going to say how I know that because that'd be a spoiler. So, we get to the part where the first major conflict happens. They fight the Grimm. that last half of the train goes off of the tracks after the remainder of Team Juniper ends up, yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention, Oscar was the next reincarnation of, shoot, I know this, Ozpin. Which I'll explain about the reincarnation in another video, or I'll go into little detail in this one, because this is just the introduction to my explanation of the Rwby series. I'm trying to throw out as much information I can think of in this one video. You know, so how do I put this? So Oscar, let's go back to, yeah, he arrived in Mistral at the same time that Team Ranger was there. Like, he showed up, and Crow already knew about his reincarnations. Also, Crow and Raven got their ability to turn into a bird from Ozpin. Yeah. Also, Ozpin's the one who gave the ability to the 4 maidens. Because I don't think I've said that yet. And I'll discuss more about certain major topics in another video. But, alright, so we get to the point where everyone's got questions. Oscar, or Ozpin in this case, hid the fact that the relics can attract Grimm. That's part of the reason why Ozpin, in a previous life, had them build the kingdoms around the relic. And one of Ozpin's reincarnations, we believe, I can't remember the source of who said this, is the original king of Vale. Like, when Vale was first founded. So, that's to be believed. It wasn't confirmed, but that's what we believe. Which, it makes sense. That's the one that happened before he became the schoolmaster. Let's see here. Anyway, so they get tired of him hiding stuff. So they ask the relic to reveal the information for them. And Ozpin is not too happy about it, but he can't stop it because the question has already been asked. What is Ozpin hiding from us? And then we go into a whole spiel of what happened and why. Now, I'm not going to go into detail. Basically, it talks about, because Remnant at the moment is the remnants of a forgotten past, because nobody knows what happened in the past, except for a select few. Ozpin being one of them, the school headmasters know, and Salem herself, and maybe a few others, but those are the ones I can confirm know it. So, I forgot to mention that Ozpin does die, and then Lionheart dies, which Lionheart is the headmaster at Mistral. And then Ozpin was the headmaster at Vale. See, I'm not going every little detail, I'm just adding on information as it comes to me or when it needs to be said. So, they see the story of what happened in the past. I might go into that later of how I think about the story, but I thought it was very interesting. I want to discuss more of how the people reacted to Ozpin's shortcomings in the story told about how he was a hero, he rescued Salem from the tower, and by the way, Salem in the tower is reference to one of the fairy tales. Believe it or not. So then, Ozma, I should say, was his original name, before he became a reincarnation. I'm just going to go into the story a little bit. Becomes a hero, saves her, falls in love with her, doesn't end well because he gets sick, dies. She tries to confront the gods. Gods won't do anything for her. Gets them to fight amongst each other. Gets cursed with immortality. Then, sorry if I'm talking fast, I'm just trying to get this out here. I'll go into more detail at another video, possibly, if you guys want that. I might also record this with somebody just to get their viewpoint on it. I'm not sure yet. It depends if there's time and if he's available, or if anyone else who wants to do this is available. So, I'm trying not to make this go over 30 minutes, but it's going to, because there's just so much big details to explain and so much to talk about after 7 volumes. So, what happens is she gets mad, tries to turn humanity against the gods because she wants to be with her beloved Ozma, but she can't. So, she tries to have them fight the gods. The gods aren't having that. And then the god of darkness, death, destruction, whatever you want to call him, he goes, After they try to attack him, he literally takes out all of humanity in one blow. And then they tell her that as long as the earth or this planet spins, she will be cursed to walk it. And she was left alone for a while before humanity rose up again. Then Ozma was sent on the mission to, protect the relics once he was told by the gods, and he would reincarnate over and over again until his duty on Earth was done. We're just going to say, remnant. So, the humans did not know about what the past was like. And let's just say that, based on what I'm seeing, it was actually pretty good. There was still death and everything, but there were no words on grim attacks per se during that time. Okay, let's jump forward a little bit. So, Ozma comes back as a reincarnation, finds Salem, they fall in love, pretend to be gods, they have a castle built about them, have kids who end up getting the powers that humans originally had. Ozma tells Salem the truth, which was a huge mistake on his part, because she's now spending every waking moment trying to find the relics, so she can, I would assume, summon the gods and have the world destroyed. Because she wants humanity to be separated and fighting amongst themselves. So when the gods see that, they're like, I ain't having that. And then just kill us all. Well, kill them all again. And then say, humanity was our greatest experiment, I think is what they said. So we're going to do it again. And hopefully this time it'll work. But faunists were added into the equation. And humans are assholes. Oh, sorry. Whatever. Jerks. I'm not going to edit that out. I don't care. And humans like to discriminate horribly. And it doesn't matter where you go in the multiverse. Yes, I said multiverse. But they discriminate against faunists because they're different. So, and then they don't have magic abilities except for aura and then the occasional silver eye warrior. But dust is the replacement. And they do have a semblance, of course. But if man didn't fall, they would still have the ability to, summon the abilities without having to use dust for that. So, what ends up happening is Ozma sees the world, does family with Salem, then tells her the truth, and she's like, so what? They're not here anymore. We decide what happens to this world. And all he can see in the orb that she was looking at is humanity fighting each other. By the way, she jumped into the Grim pool to try and take away her immortality, but all it did was make her a Grim. So, another theory a friend of mine told me about, or a proven fact, is that the Silver Eye Warriors can freeze the Grim with their silver eyes. And since Salem is technically a Grim now, I probably shouldn't say that because that would be a spoiler. But you could probably see where I'm going. I'll probably discuss that in another video or something. I might have a video on off-topic explanations or ideas, facts, or opinions, blah, blah, blah. Whichever one. So, we come to a point in which Ozma, we'll just say Ozma at this point in the story, he realizes that he's in the wrong here. He did exactly the opposite of what the gods wanted. And he's a man for peace, justice, and fighting for what's right. So he wanted to take the kids away from Salem behind her back. But let's just say it didn't end well, and he ended up getting killed after his first reincarnation. Then he spent the next two reincarnations, two I believe, is what they showed. And apparently, according to the series, Oscar is his 6th reincarnation. Let me think here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, Oscar's either his... I think Oscar's his 7th. 6th or 7th, I don't remember. There's at least been 6. So, gets reincarnated, spends the first 2 reincarnations in mourning. Then, he spends the next 2 that are shown in the vision doing things to fight against Salem. But he finds out in one of his reincarnations that Salem cannot be defeated. He said, "How do I defeat Salem?" And he said, and then Jen says, "You can't." And all I can think of is, that sucks. But that's where the Silver-Eyed Warriors take place, which we'll get back into that into another discussion. So, it'll discuss theories on how we could actually defeat Salem in another video. So, the story ends. Everyone's mad at, Ozpin now at this point. We're outside of the vision. Like I said, I'm just going through this real quick. If I need to go through detail on anything, or major details on anything, like go more into detail about something, I will. But as of right now, I'm just giving a basic summary and how I feel about the series as a whole at the moment, and then I'm going to go through my theories in other videos following this. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm still in volume 6 because there's a lot to go over. So, in conclusion, everyone's mad at Oscar, or Ozpin, I should say. And how they respond to this kind of irritates me. They don't have any sympathy for what Ozpin had to go through in his past lives. All they can think about is themselves. Crow, Yang included, and it's just disappointing to know that this is the Team Rwby who, I couldn't believe this. So then they find a place to stay, only to find out that their mental and emotional health is getting worse, and no one can figure out why, until they discover there's a dark truth about that ranch that they're staying at. Brunswick? I can't remember. But everyone's laying in bed, dead, and since it's a cold, wintry place, the bodies have been somewhat preserved, so they haven't completely deteriorated or rotted. So Maria's reading books to try and read more about this place because she found journals from the previous owner. But it's all over. It's like this all over the settlement, and they're really tired. Crow starts drinking heavily. I mean, he's been drinking heavy for a long time, but anyway. The one Grimm that freaks me out the most is the apathy, which is what gets introduced. It was actually thought of since the very beginning of the Rwby series. But we'll get back to that at a certain point. But they wanted to add it in at a certain point where it was most necessary. Apathy means basically not wanting to or losing a sense of interest in everything, and you just want to give up, basically. That's the scary part about the apathy Grimm, is they can take away your will to live at that point. And that's what almost happened to Team Rwby. They had to go down to the well, get the thing, and then they met the apathy because they dropped the lantern down there, and Rwby said, we're going to get it because we need to. And Yang's like, it won't matter because it'll take them years to find it, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we need to keep it in a secure place kind of thing. And so they're down the well. They have to hurry up and get out. They find the cellar, which goes into the house. Try to get out of there, but they had locked the cellar door to prevent the apathy from getting in. They couldn't get out. Blake was almost touched by the apathy and died until Rwby used her silver eyes. Maria asked her how to do it, gave her a basic explanation, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, I'm just trying to go through this. I'm not trying to skip over major details, like to be rude or anything. I'm just going over what's the major details are. So they escape the farm. Maria explains that she was it the Grim Reaper? Yeah, the Grim Reaper, and that's who Crow based his weapon off of. And she was a Silver Eye warrior. So it turns out that the apathy had fed off of the souls or whatever of the people living on the farm. And yeah, they basically died because they lost their will to live. Kind of depressing, actually. And that is why it is one of the most dangerous Grimm. Because the other Grimm, they'll hurt you physically. This one will get you at your core as a hero. I will discuss that more in a later video if you guys want me to. They reach Argus. You know. Then we meet the first same-sex marriage couple, Jean's sister and her wife, and they have a baby together. And this one doesn't seem as forced as Ilya confessing her feelings, you know. This one's a little more smoother, and I like this one a little more. So they want to get onto the base. They can't because, and this really makes me mad, but the person in charge basically discriminates against Blake, saying that we don't want anyone of her kind in here. If I was there, I would have been arrested on spot, basically, because I would have hit her. Old lady or not. And Maria apparently has complications with her for eating peanuts on the ship. And the borders to Alice are closed at this point, so yeah, good luck getting in. So they go through all this dangerous stuff to try and steal the ship, but they get caught, and they have to fight Adam, blah, blah, blah. And the general, I forget her name. If you guys remember, comment below. But basically, they fight her. They fight Adam. Adam ends up, like I said, I'll put a spoiler warning in the description. But Adam basically gets killed by Yang and Blake, which, according to PTS terms and services, sorry, that was not funny, but according to PTSD, you know, the way it works, they shouldn't have been able to fight Adam the way they did. They should have been too afraid to even move based on the way PTSD works. But Rooster Teeth logic dictated otherwise. I'm not going to go too much into detail of that. So then they release a Grim that nobody wants to show up. The Grim breaks through their protection wall, and Team Rwby has to help fight. After all this, they're able to take a ship, and the general's like, I'm sorry about the fight. You guys can escape, blah, blah, blah. I won't say anything. I'll just say that a ship went missing, and I don't know where it is, or, not know where it is kind of thing. So they're on their way to Atlas, and oh my goodness, you would not believe how many warships are flying around it because of how strict the borders have become. So what ended up happening was they arrive, they try to hide, they get caught by the special ops. We're going into Volume 7 now at this point. Caught by the special ops. The special ops, So, special ops, they meet Ironwood. They discuss what they're going to do with Ironwood. The voting. Jacques Schnee gets involved with, we learn more about Jacques Schnee after Volume 3. He's kind of a jerk. I'm going to speed this up a little bit because I spent too much time talking about the most recent volumes. I just wanted to get the basic thought and idea. But the reason why I wanted to put so much detail and stuff into the later ones is because they're the ones with the most conflict of interest when it comes to opinion when it comes to the Volume 5 and up. So Volume 7 looks promising. Actually, it's started to look really promising at this point. Because near the end of it, they've actually done stuff that a friend of mine feels is what they should have done for the other volumes. Have a major conflict of interest that puts Team Rwby into a complicated situation. But they failed to do that in Volume 5 and 6, and most of 7, up until the very end, which, like I said, I'm going to put spoiler in big bold letter, not bold, but big letters in the description that there will be spoilers. So, they have issues with Ironwood, they have issues with the special ops, and when I'm recording this video, the last episode has not aired yet, so I do not know how Volume 7 ends yet, because we're in the process of it right now. But all I can say is, I want to see how it ends, and I have a few theories and opinions that I will be sharing in some videos next. Anyway, Volume 7 has been better than the last two, I feel. Not perfect, or not as good as Rwby has been before, but... Oh, and another ship... No, I'm not even going to discuss ships, because I'm going to get in trouble if I do. Anyway, yeah. So I will do videos based on facts and opinions and what I think is going to happen next, and other videos to talk about certain things before the end of the volume. I will be releasing videos after, but there are videos that I want to release right away. Anyway, I would say that is all for now. Jeez, this video's gone for a while. Leave a comment, subscribe, like the video, whatever. Comment below if there's any topics you want me to talk about next that I should talk about before the end of the volume. Anyway, I would just like to say thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!